people, they spend their whole lives reading, someone else's story. They never pick up the pen. Listen, coming up, you're going to learn why that ends today. There we go. Good morning. You're in the lab where excuses expire and authors emerge. Hey, you got Keith Billis here. Quick note before we get in the contents is raw coming up. The language sometimes is foul. So if you got kids in the room, I don't know. You know the drill. Put the headphones on or walk the motor. Just turn the volume down. We got John Anderson, and of course myself is here. C. Marty's got some obligations this morning, and so does producer Flynn. And of course we got the old button presser, Jimmy, over on the buttons. Good morning, Dugan. Good morning, Jack Dugan. I see you there in the comments. Good to have you here this morning, joining us in the lab first thing this morning. And hey, we're about to flip the script on everything you think you know about transformation. Our friend Adam House, CEO of House of Bricks, is joining us today, bringing this week's brick, breaking down exactly how to write that first line when you're staring at the blank page. You know what it's like? You're like, you got the white piece of paper in front of you, like, oh, where do I start? Where do I start? Adam's going to dig into that out with us this morning. AJ Zeglin's joining us here later this morning with Mind Fuel Rewiring. Yeah, I got to get the marbles out of the mouth this morning. AJ is going to be here to talk about rewiring the psychology that keeps you reading someone else's story instead of writing your own. But hey, first, listen, nation, the League of Business Athletes is live. Here's what that means. 10 spots, 100 days, 100 hours, and one shot at rewriting everything and transforming your life. The question is, nation, the question isn't if you're ready. Nope, the question is, are you qualified? More on that coming up in a minute. For now, listen, I invite you to hit that subscribe to the channel. Subscribe, like it, tell your friends, smash the like button. Tell everybody you've discovered the only morning show on the planet to help you get your ass out of bed and move forward in life and hit those big, most audacious goals. Jimmy, we're going to pivot to the right to the camera over here. We're going to bring in our friend Johnny. Oh, it looks like my camera's a little messed up this morning. I'm going to fix that here. We got Johnny here this morning here in the lab. What's going on, Mr. Anderson?
What's up, brother?
How are you today?
I'm good. Another day in the loop. Obviously, yesterday was the last few days was challenging, but yes, the good part about yesterday was it was a day where I got to process everything through and actually I recognized the silver linings in the situation. It's another thing to actually start to feel them, and I'm feeling them now.
So for those of you, for our regular listeners here this morning, Jack Dugan and so forth, regular listeners, we know that Johnny had a family, I guess I'm going to call it a family tragedy yesterday. Johnny lost a friend of the family yesterday, and we spent some time yesterday just reflecting upon losses and so forth. And we're going to spend time throughout the day today. And John and I connected before the show. And John, would you tell me, you're like, hey, yesterday's part of the process, and today's a day you got to get up and keep moving forward, right, pal?
Yeah. But yesterday was the tough one in terms of not wanting to get up, not wanting to. But it was, I think that's the one beautiful thing about habits and personal standards. Then when you really need to do something you don't want to, you've practiced it so many times, it becomes much easier to execute when you feel like you can't.
Yeah.
Because that you can, it just, that voice tells you can't. And when you've overridden that voice enough times, you just go.
There's somebody starting their day right now and they're thinking to themselves, I'm going through a tragedy or I'm going through difficult times right now. And Johnny, it's so easy. It is easy just not to go. And I know you and we laughed because we're here this morning. It's just habits, right? There's really no decision to make. You just roll over and go. But I got to think yesterday, you even said yourself, you're like, I just don't know if I can go today, even though you did. The brain's a powerful thing, eh, brother? It's a powerful thing.
Oh, 100%. And keep in mind, it's the way the brain was designed.
Yeah.
It was designed to get us to avoid anything that was going to exert energy. Because way back when, energy conservation is what kept us alive when we didn't have enough to eat. So anytime we could do something that would conserve energy, that's what a brain was programmed to get us to do. Obviously, we don't live in a place where we don't have enough to eat anymore. And the problems that we're trying to avoid are not going to eat us for lunch. So it's very different. The brain now is when thousands of years ago, our brain was our friend. It kept us alive. Now our brain just makes us fucking lazy.
Johnny, how's Terry doing today, brother? How was Terry yesterday? How was her friend? And how's Terry doing today?
Today they're doing, so I haven't talked to him yet. Obviously, it's pretty early for most people.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I talked to him right before they're getting ready to go into ground zero, if you will.
Yes.
To go in and gather, and they were pretty grounded. They had spent the time preparing, and they were doing good. And for me, what I'm letting them know is, hey, I'm here. I don't want to keep poking in your business because you got to stay focused. But I'm a text away, I'm a call away, and they're doing well.
And have you talked to your daughters?
Yeah, of course. They're all doing well too. It's weird because I guess that I've spent enough time kind of programming their minds as youngsters that they default right to, man, this really shows us how fragile life can be. And they start looking at things differently rather than looking at things like, I'm going to go have a drink, or, oh, I'm going to go. They don't run to self-sabotaging behavior patterns when tragedy strikes.
Which is good. Yes. Yeah. And I think we as humans need to get our energy out somehow. And I'm hoping that the girls, and I know myself, I get into the gym, probably like yourself, right? It's either going for a ride, going for a run, going for a walk, lifting some heavy things, but it's taking that energy you have inside of you and moving it somewhere, because you got to get it out somewhere.
It's sometimes a lot of times when someone goes through something, you feel that thing in your chest, feel that thing in your stomach. And what you just said, it's basically, in many cases, you could call it anxious energy.
Yeah.
But it's still power. It's still energy. And so when you have, that's the saying I was making, don't let a good tragedy go to waste. I was sucking on those words pretty hard yesterday. But when it comes down to it, that feeling that you have that in any situation, it could be stress at work where you feel like you can't sit down because you're just so anxious. Spend that energy on something productive. And don't run from it. Don't try to kill it with some sort of a numbing device. When I say numbing device, alcohol, substance, whatever, we got to recognize that there's something there for us to use to our benefit. In many cases, you take that energy and you use it to help the ones that you love that are actually in trouble, because they're the ones that need it.
That's it. That's exactly it. Listen, Jim, let's keep going with the script here, Jimmy. So listen, nation, I'm going to tell you something here that nobody else will. Your story, it's not stuck. Nope. And we've been leading into this last couple of days here. The plot that's part of your life, it's not fixed. Nope. Your ending, I'm telling you right now, nation, the ending you have is not written. Ask Jack Dugan. Every single day, Jack is rewriting his ending. But here's the truth about transformation. The blank page, Johnny, I know you've been there. I've been there. That blank page is the scariest part. That first word, the hardest line, staring at that white piece of paper, that idea, like, how do I get it out? That opening chapter that feels impossible. Days like yesterday, you're staring into the void, wondering, where do I go? It's until you realize something, that every great story started with someone picking up the pen. And here's the key, nation. Every transformation began with a single word, a single thought. And every breakthrough opens with one decision. Now listen, this isn't just about morning routines anymore. This is about habits. I'm sorry, this isn't about habits or systems or frameworks. No, nation, it's about authorship. So listen, you can lay there right now within your own story and let that person over there write it for you. And many of us do. We let others write the story for us. And I know my friend Jack, for many years, the story has been written for Jack daily. Jack's, fuck it, I'm going to take control of my life. And he picked up the pen and started writing his own story.
Yeah.
That's the power of the pen in your own piece of paper. John, when someone's staring at that blank page, what's that first word that they need to write, John Anderson?
It's a great topic, brother. And I like to make things a little bit more, I like to simplify it, sometimes put it into a different perspective. That blank piece of paper, it's your story, it's your movie. Question, are you going to write you're going to write your own movie with you being an extra?
Yes.
Are you going to be the main character?
Yep.
And is this movie or this story that you're writing, is it how you triumphed, or is it the reasons you didn't? What is your story? Are you like myself as a perfect example? I thank God every day. Thank my lucky stars that I had a rough start, because that is what made me. So my story is, yeah, I got my butt whooped physically, mentally, all that in the beginning. And that's what allowed my story to develop into who I am. So when you're writing your story, is it a story about why you are great at what you do or why you're this amazing person? Or is it a story about why you're not the person you want to be? And then in that, usually if you're not, then you've got somebody else in your life or in your story that's basically taking control of that main character and putting you in the wrong spot. So really decide, what are you writing on that piece of paper? Think about, it's completely up to you.
Yet so many of us are reluctant to pick up the pen, and we'd rather offer the pen or the pencil to somebody else for that story. And here Today Nation, we're encouraging you to pick up that pen and write that story yourself.
So to answer that question, brother, forgive me, and I know you just trying to change segments. To answer that question, what I would say, the first thing you write down, what if it was me? And everybody's different. I would write down the shit that was hard that made me better. When you start there, really hard to get going the wrong direction. When you're starting off with, okay, this was a bitch, and because of this, I'm better now. You're moving in the right direction. Now just keep that shit going.
There you go. All right, we're going to do the accountability check-in with self here for a minute. We're going to come back, Johnny, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about how to turn a no into a yes when facing rejection. I got to think through your career. You've probably been said no to a few times. You and me both. So we're going to come back in a minute, Jimmy. We're going to get into how to teach Nation how to turn no into a yes as part of our next segment for Center Stage. But first of all, guys, we're going to get into the accountability check-in. And here's what I'm going to invite you to do right this moment. Pull the glasses off for this one. Pull out your journal. Maybe it's on an app. Maybe it's on a piece of paper. Maybe it's on that rock tablet that John Addison picks up when he's scrolling with that rock. Open to that blank page. Now look at what's stopping you from filling that page. In the next segment, you're going to learn why that empty space is your biggest opportunity. But let's get uncomfortably honest. Open that calendar app. Scroll to yesterday. Count the stories you let others write for you. I bet you many did. Everybody else's meetings, everybody else's tasks, everybody else's to-do lists. The meetings you didn't take, the notifications you didn't need to check, the distractions you didn't need to follow. Now, I invite you, as you're starting your day, look at today's blank page. Are you holding the pen or somebody else? Are you waiting for somebody else to fill that calendar? Are you starting your story, or are you still reading from someone else's script? Because I bet you that you are. Because here's what separates elite performers. The guys that AJ Zeglin works with, joining us here later this morning. The humans that Jory Jansen works with. The guys like John Anderson as he's going through his career. They don't wait for inspiration. No, Nation. They don't search for perfect moments. No, they don't roll over and hit the snooze button and wait for 10 minutes later. They don't even look for permission. I know Dugan's not looking for permission. He's getting up and going every single day. They write, they create, they begin. And then you know what? They do it again, and again. That's how it works. The League of Business Athletes, we're not looking for readers. No, we're looking for authors. 10 spots for those that are ready to write their own story with their own pen. So listen, the question isn't what you're going to write. The question is, will you finally pick up the pen? Is today the day you pick up the pen? Because tomorrow, it's going to be around the corner 24 hours from now. There's another blank page. There's another blank page, another pen that somebody might write for you, or you have the chance to write your own story. There it is, Jimmy. Today's accountability check-in this morning. Mornings in the lab with Keith and friends, with my buddy John Anderson here joining me. All right, Johnny, we're going to rock and roll, my friend. We're going to keep it going here. We're going to keep it going to a topic here in the month of November, which is how to turn a no into a yes when facing a rejection. And I got to think, Anderson, you have had no said to you a gazillion times in your journey, whether it's wrestling, whether it's strongman, whether it's bodybuilding, whether it's picking up chicks. No, rejection is a part of the game in business and in life. But in my experience, no isn't just the end, especially in sales, Johnny. It's just the first door in. So let's take a few moments here during Center Stage to give our audience something to think about this morning, but how to turn a no into a yes when facing rejection. Johnny, let's go into the first one, man. And this is an obvious one, but listening actively. As you were a young man growing up, going through your journeys, were you always an active listener, Johnny, or were you one who was just talking, or did you have to learn how to listen actively? It's a skill.
Yeah, there's no question, because remember, I was a dumb little son of a bitch. I was highly insecure. So a lot of it was like, I did a lot of, I guess you'd say I was either dead silent, just scared to death, or I was talking too much, because basically it was my mechanism. It was like a nervous chatter. But really what I was missing was the fact that if I was actually paying closer attention, I would have gathered more information to help me with the struggles I was having. But it became a habit to where I was like, I guess you come down to it, is my habit became to be quiet and stress out, or to just talk. I hate to say aimlessly, but there probably was a lot of just not making sense as I try to figure that I'm either figuring it out quietly or I'm figuring it out loud, both of which were confusing to me. So you can imagine the shit I might have been saying.
Dude, I can relate to you. And I know this guy's listening right now, tuning in the show, starting their day going, man, I got to learn how to listen actively because I keep talking. Or you go into a situation and you feel, I think a lot of us humans, Johnny, don't like awkward silence. So we talk. Right. Yeah. And then we lose this idea of actively listening because I'm already thinking what I'm going to say before you're even done talking.
Yeah, 100%. And as I've gotten older, and it's something I still focus on.
Yes.
And but especially with my kids, especially because as an adult, before they were adults, I was constantly trying to just program their minds, because a lot of times, of course, I wanted to listen to them, but at the same time, a lot of what they were saying, it was influence from people I didn't want them to have influence from. So I was trying to rewrite some of that stuff as their influence was. And keep in mind, I hate to say this, but there was a lot of teachers that came along through their journeys that were not really giving the message that I thought was proper. And there were some that did give the proper message. I paid close attention to what they were hearing. And so as adults, now that they've become adults, my job as a father is very different. And now I'm really focused on listening, because this is where, as an adult, my job is kind of done. They're young adults now. So now it's probably, I'm getting better at listening at a rapid rate in my 50s than I did before, because now I have a real reason to listen to my daughters.
Yes. Yes. Johnny, the other thing we want to encourage somebody right now as they're going through either a sales call or a conversation with one of their colleagues this morning, or perhaps even a family member, Johnny, is this idea of how to turn a no into a yes by acknowledging someone's concerns. So someone's taking the time to put some thought into something and they've said something to you. What you might do quickly is just dismiss that. What I'm encouraging you to do today, Johnny, as you go through your day, is to pause, reflect, and go, okay, wait a minute. I hear Keith saying something. I want to acknowledge what he's saying. I want to acknowledge perhaps what his concerns are. And then you might lean in and say something like, I understand where you're coming from. Perhaps you can explain more to me. And right off the bat, Johnny, going into that situation, my guard comes down. You've leaned in, and the whole situation has been diffused because you've now acknowledged that something's up with me. Talk about that. I'm sure. Listen, let's go into the relationship side of things. I got to think, when you go into a situation with Terry, and I'm getting better at with Lauren, but it's acknowledging where your partner or where your colleague is coming from, Johnny.
Yeah, and sometimes that's a bitch, because you don't always know.
No, yeah, yeah.
And as a fixer, I have a really difficult time, like trying to, because of my need to want to fix, or my reaction to want to fix is, in realistic, I said reaction, because what I should be doing is responding, not reacting. But as a fixer, I react often. Yes. And when I react, I'm not really understanding the roots of a lot of this shit, because in so many cases, thank God Terry will tell me, I just need you to listen. And it's boom, thank God. I know exactly what my job is in this moment. And other times she doesn't say that. So I'm left to figure out what I'm supposed to do on my own. And obviously sometimes I get it, sometimes I don't. So it's a challenge. Communication with someone, especially someone you love, It's important because you want to, obviously, people want to be heard, they want to be understood. And
Yes.
so I think we're talking about probably one of the, in terms of like love relationships, this might be one of the biggest challenges that human knows.
All right, so then we go to the next one. Good morning, Shinku. I see you there, brother. Good morning. Good to have you here this morning. Listen, you're hanging out with Keith and John. Marty's off doing some obligations this morning. Flynn's doing the same thing. So you got the two pillars. You got the two pillars of the Business Athlete Performance Lab, the two guys holding up the table to the platform here, hanging out with you guys.
We're like wine, brother. We just get better with age.
That's it, pal. And we are hanging out, going through how to turn a no into a yes. And as you guys are starting today, whether it's a personal relationship, a business relationship, you're going, I got to go to the meeting. How do I handle the situation? And we've talked about listening actively. We talked about acknowledging concerns. And here's a big one, Johnny: clarifying a misunderstanding. Sometimes a no happens because of a misunderstanding. Terry has said something, you've said something, I've said something, and you're like, oh, hold on a second here. And then you go, you talk, you argue, you bellyache back and forth, and you go, wait a minute, there was a misunderstanding here. And I think that's where you got to slow down the whole thing and just clarify the situation, right? Because misunderstandings lead to speculation. Speculation leads to negative emotion. Negative emotion leads to negative stories in our head, Johnny, and the whole thing spirals out of control. You know what I mean?
And that's one thing I've actually got pretty good with Terry in my current relationship, which is going to be my last. I'm committed to that.
You and me both.
Is that when there is a misunderstanding and we somehow figure it out, it's like, whoa, this is fucking perfect.
Yeah.
Because this whole thing is existing off of a platform that doesn't even exist.
Yes.
I'm really good at saying, hey, you know what? I can let this go right over my shoulder and we can move on with no issues. And I've gotten really good at that because I guess when it comes down to it, I don't need to be right. I want to be happy.
You said that a couple weeks ago, man, and I've been hanging on that one because a lot of people need to be right.
Oh, I was one of those guys for a while. It was terrible.
Yeah, and
terrible.
Right equals ego, right? And I heard you say something like, I don't need to be right. I just want to get. It's not about being right. We just got to find the right solution. I don't care what the hell the answer is.
Yeah, and on that level, you don't even have to agree to be happy.
No.
It's like Terry and I we come to listen. We'll agree to disagree. Let's move on.
Yes. Yes.
And that's okay too.
Yes.
Because if you think about it, if you agree on every little single thing, somebody's bending over
constantly.
And you don't want, that's not a platform for longevity. If someone is just saying what they need to say and not being true to how they feel, then that's usually not a good recipe.
But you know what, Anderson, I'll tell you right now too, it's something I learned here last little while, just through readings and just through life experience. In many ways, agreeing to disagree is not the right approach. So you and I, not pretend. So you and I are going through a business situation together. We're both leading teams. And if I'm going to agree to disagree with you, and then I go back to work with my team, I'm essentially just giving you the finger and saying, I don't fucking agree with that guy. So what I'd rather suggest to you as a colleague would be saying to you, Johnny, I don't agree, but I'm going to agree and I'm going to commit so that I show the team and I show I show the family that I might not agree with where Johnny's going with it, but I'm his partner and I'm going to commit to Johnny because now I'm showing the team that I'm beside you and that I'm next to you and that I'm committing to what you believe because that's what a partner does. Not, I don't fucking agree with that guy. And because when you agree to disagree, in many ways, John, within a business or even within a family, you're just saying, I'm waiting for you to fail so I can give you the finger and tell you, I fucking told you.
It's interesting because I think when you first went to family or relationships in business. So let's take business and remove the word relationship because obviously it's business. Granted, you have business relationships, but let's just remove that word for this conversation.
Yes.
In business, I 100% agree. It's like, look, we have to come to some sort of an understanding, some sort of a compromise so we can both be proactive so that we're both, because business is not just, it's to be successful. You've got to have other people involved. If we're talking about real success, high level success, you're never going to do it by yourself. So in business, I agree. But I guess in relationships, I think you're not being quite so stringent on the fact of I might disagree, but it doesn't mean that I want you to fail. It just means that I think it should be done differently.
That's right. No, and I can't disagree with that. And Shinko's coming in here with some great comments here. And I agree with this one. There's still a bitter taste when we agree to disagree. right? And I don't know, and Shingo, you said it best, right? Humans are tricky tricky beings, because I don't know if there is the right answer. Whether, if I don't agree with you, if it's my wife, you're like, you're swallowing it and you're moving forward, basically.
I'm going to come from the other side of that, though, brother.
Tell me.
So agreeing to disagree, I can totally see where that's coming from, but I think you're still too ego oriented to say that.
Yes.
I think when you say, look, we can agree to disagree, means, hey, it's okay. There's no, you shouldn't have a, it shouldn't taste like acid in your fucking mouth to say, I'm sorry. It's like if you're really operating off of love and emotion, it's agreeing to disagree is almost like saying, you know what, we can make sure that there's no tension from this issue moving forward. I respect your position, you respect mine. They're a little different, and that's okay.
Funny how sorry is such a good morning, Yantang. I see you there. I'm just hitting you a comment. It's funny, Johnny, how sorry is such a hard thing for us to say as human beings. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, man. We just sometimes as humans, men, women, the ego gets in front of us, and you're like, I'm walking up to you as my partner, Johnny. I'm ready to go. And we walk towards it. I want to say that
so check this out. I tend to wear people out. I tend to, even some of my friends are happier taking me in doses because I just work at a faster speed than most. And when I say fast, I guess you'd say I'm just my loop. I enjoy my loop. I don't want time off from my loop. And a lot of people get in the loop and they're good for a little while and then they need to jump out. And so on that level, when I realized I have no intention of ruffling anybody's feathers, but in many cases, unintentional, it happens.
Yes.
And it's become so easier for me to say I'm sorry because I did not intend to ruffle someone's feathers. And it happens enough where saying sorry has become quite easy for me because I don't ever intend to just ruffle someone's feathers because of who I am and how I live my life. But when it happens, my apologies.
I hear you. All right, we got Adam House hanging out in the green room. Johnny, we're going to come back and keep the conversation going around how to turn a no into a yes as we continue with the show here. But we got Adam House waiting for us in the green room. Jimmy, I'm going to do this. Yeah, I'm going to do the C. Marty Fit Tip today. Johnny's got to go for a break, man. Perfect. John, you got for a break, brother. You come back in a minute, and we're going to get taken care of. If I had Dugan here, I'd go the Jack Dugan Fit Tip of the day here. Jack's down 40 pounds, fucking rocking and rolling it every single day, getting up and showing up for the show and winning life, learning how to take those no's and turn them into yeses. Hey, listen, let's talk about three, not one, not two, but three muscle building fundamentals every man should master, except you, Jimmy, to see real gains and maintain strengths. Number one, progressive overload. Yeah, you hear about it all the time. John and Marty talk about it all the time. You got to lift heavier over time. If you're just going to show up in the gym and lift the same 25 pounds every single day, ain't going to work. Your muscles need a challenge. They need a challenge to grow. You got to increase the weights. You got to increase the reps. You got to increase the intensity each session to keep pushing those limits. So you're listening to me right now. You're heading to the gym, or you're sitting in your truck wondering if you're going to get into the gym. I know you, Shinko, you've done it before. Get in there. Put down a 25, pick up the 30s. Get under the squat rack. Put an extra 5 pounds on there. Make those 5 pounds feel like they're extra 45 pounds. Get that progressive overload coming in there. Next one, the obvious one, guys. Proper nutrition. Fuel that body with protein-rich fuels, complex carbs, and healthy fats. You've been hearing Jory talk about it. Aim for those lean meats, whole grains, quality fats. Go crush some avocados today. Oh, yeah. Those gains not going to start in the gym today. Nope. Not going to start in the cold tub. Nope. They're going to start in the kitchen. Yeah. That's where it's all going to start. And then lastly, but not least, the consistency. We know how it works, nation. Consistency is king. You got to show up even on the days you don't feel like it. Stick to the routine, track the progress, and build momentum. You know how it works. Movement creates momentum. So listen, as I invite you starting your day today in the month of November, you're going, I got to say no to something, to say a lot of yes to something else. Make these 3 tips non-negotiable and watch your results follow, just like Good Time, just like Shinku, just like Jack Dugan. The results are going to follow. The results are inevitable. You show up every single day. The results work. Trust me. There you go. There's the fit tip for the day with Keith Billis sitting in for C. Marty Fit. I'm the more handsome version of C. Marty Fit. There's just no question about that. Johnny, right at him? going on, boys?
Love it. I love
What's
it.
going
That's
on, Adam
beautiful.
House? How are you? You good? I'm fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you very much here this morning. So listen, guys, when men are stuck in the valley of mediocrity, when their mornings feel like more like quicksand than launching pads, when they're ready to turn those first hours into a competitive edge, you know who they call? They don't call John Anderson. They call Adam House. Oh, yeah. The CEO of the House of Bricks. Adam's joining us here today to talk about picking up the pen and starting their day with that blank page, beating the morning routine, and so forth. Adam, let's break it down for us, man. How does a man turn those first dark hours of his morning from a valley of distraction into a workshop for his next chapter? Adam House, what's the blueprint look like for somebody getting up and crushing their day today? Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I like the analogy there, Adam, because you're standing in the valley and you're looking around. All you're looking at is essentially accomplishments. And you're standing in the valley asking yourself how you're going to make those accomplishments. And what do you say to the guy standing there, Adam, going, you just got to take the first step. And the guy's going, but I don't know which way to go to get out of the valley. Yep. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I
Isn't that the
love that.
truth?
I love that. So, Johnny, I'm really digging Adam's theme this morning because what you're talking about is very much that the success is built in the valley, right? Victory comes from spending time in the valley, right, brother?
Yeah. Getting your ass kicked. You're always going to learn more from getting your ass kicked than winning. And we win, it's great. We love it. But at the same time, you're not analyzing. You don't have much to analyze when you won. Everything went to plan. When you get your ass kicked, you lose. You're like, okay, let's look at this. What's the reflection? The biggest wins come after the biggest losses in most cases.
And in many ways, it's like climbing the highest mountain, right? You're climbing the highest mountain out of the valley. And then once you get to the top, Adam, you got to go back to the bottom again. And then we find ourselves back in the valley again, right? And I love your analogy of the valley like your journal. So when you're in the valley, you find yourself writing, right?
Yeah. Never happens. It only lives in our minds. I love that, brother. I love that. Brother, I love that. Don't waste your sorrows. The thing that mine is don't
Yeah.
let a good tragedy go to waste.
I was waiting for that one. Adam, what do you? So here's a question for you, brother, because this one, this is intriguing to me. What do you do when you're in the valley and you're looking at that white piece of paper? And you start your day, Adam, and you're like, okay, I'm here. I got a pen. I'm in the valley. I'm staring at that white journal. And what's the first word that's coming out? Like, how do you do that, brother? Like, how do you start? Do you just dump from the brain? There's somebody listening right now. I'm telling you right now, there's somebody listening to you right now, and they're going, but I don't know how to start, Adam. Are you just saying just start dumping your words out? Is that the advice you're going to give somebody? Exactly. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Oh my God.
I was just going to ask you. So I'm going to ask both you guys this. Do you go back and look through your old journals, Adam? And do you say to yourself, what the hell was I thinking? And because I've sometimes done that myself and I'm like, oh, and do you question your head or do you just accept what you've written? This is an interesting topic to me. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, it's funny because it is your journal, and I suspect most of us, when we want to journal, we think there's a right or a wrong way, and then what happens often, Johnny or Adam, is we don't start because we're too focused on getting the journaling process correct, especially if somebody's neurotic, like maybe myself, or like, oh, I got to get it right. When actually the reality is no, just get what's in your mind on paper and then move on. That's how you get out of the valley.
You're going to do it again tomorrow. And when you do it every day like that, you realize it doesn't have to be perfect. It's an exercise, it's putting your brain in the right spot. So and one of the drills that I'll have clients of mine that are, when we're doing the mental exercises to reprogram how they view life, I'll literally say, if I'm having a hard time getting them on the right track, say, listen, piece of paper, split down the middle, write a big line down the middle. You're going to write basically one side, you're going to write all the shit that stressed you out. The other side, you're going to write the shit that stressed you out that actually came to reality. And
Yes.
usually it's almost perfectly what Adam said, about 80%. And then
Yes.
once you start to actually put it on paper, you realize, holy shit, I worry about this and this, and it only lives in my mind. That's
Yes.
powerful.
Yes. So Adam, Johnny, I've recently adopted the new Apple journaling app on the iPhone there, and it gives me a prompt when I open it up. It gives me a prompt. So right now the prompt is, what's your intention for today? And I love that, boys, because I can log in and I got this prompt, and I can just dump it out of my brain. And I'm finding that very helpful to get me out of the valley on days. And I love how, Adam, we talk about getting out of the valley to get to victory, but it all starts in the valley. And Johnny, every morning we start in the valley, don't we? Every single morning we get up out of bed, and you're starting at the bottom of the base of the mountain.
Yeah, it was crazy. Yesterday, our guest was talking about his method about
Yes.
one was remove,
I
one
know.
was
Yes.
purpose, one was gratitude. That is literally, I have the same drill I do that I teach as well. It's just basically it's the same three things. It's just formatted a little bit differently, and it's pretty amazing when you find people that have developed some I don't call it mental strength, mental efficiency, maybe call it.
Yes.
There's some level of reprogramming, refocusing on a daily basis, because just like you said, every day we wake up and we're behind the eight ball. And if we
Yes.
allow ourselves to stay there, that kind of determines how we live our lives. And we can live our lives as a glass is half full, or we can live our lives the glass is half empty. This morning, it would probably took me about 40 minutes to snap myself out of it. Next thing you know,
No kidding.
yeah. And the crazy thing is, Terry, she's gone. She's with her friend. And I'm here. I'm in the house by myself. So out of just fucking nowhere, I just fucking yell, fuck yes, as I felt me getting in the right spot. And that positive energy just came pouring out. I could do it vocally, which was fun this morning.
I love this. This is good advice this morning, Adam, talking about getting out of the valley and walking towards victory. And it's especially succinct compared to the conversation we had yesterday with Dr. John Page. Johnny, because he's talked about how he starts his day and attacks those three things, and it's very much linked to journaling. And Johnny, I know you've had a tough day yesterday, turning tragedy into something. And Adam, you talked about this morning how to take something negative and turning it into a positive. So, Nation, as you're starting your day today, and you're hearing Adam and myself and Johnny talking about, you're starting your day, you feel like you're in the valley, you feel like you're stuck somewhere, you're looking around, you got mountains everywhere, you got these mountaintops you got to climb. You're thinking, holy fuck, how am I going to get to the top of that? Adam said it best. Just dump your brain into your document. Just journal. Just get your words out. Adam?
Hell yeah.
That's okay. That's all right. That's all right, brother.
We still got you here.
Yeah, so rock and roll. So Adam, you have yourself an awesome day, guys. You can find Adam in the House of Bricks community, the leading community for business guys who are stuck getting themselves going. You're looking for a LinkedIn presence. You're looking to get yourself out of the valley. You got to join the House of Bricks community with Adam House and the gang, Michael Kaninsky, Adam, Paul, and the whole team over at the House of Bricks. Adam, have an awesome day, brother. We're going to catch up with you a little later today. We got AJ Zeglin joining us here, but before we do that,
thank you, Adam. Let's go, baby. Let's go.
Johnny Anderson.
It's time.
It's time.
Come on, baby.
All right, brother. What's up?
All right. So many people talk about not wanting to be average. Here's the deal. If you don't want to be average anymore, you've just got to stop doing the shit that average people do. And it's not as difficult as you think. Because unfortunately, or fortunately for you, average people repeat the same mistakes, usually on a daily basis. So what do you got to do? You got to look at your day and you got to remove some of the things that you're doing that are holding you back. And you've got to implement something into your day that's going to help you move forward in whatever it is you want to do that's going to be beyond average. Here's the thing. This is your choice. You have the ability to do it. And I know many of you are saying, oh, this is going to be difficult. This is going to be hard. You only think that because the average people around you are telling you this dumb shit. So if you want to take the step to not be average, all you've got to do is recognize it starts with today. Take the first step. And once you're in motion, you will realize it's not nearly as difficult as you think. Rock and roll.
Go. If you're listening,
What's so goddamn funny, brother? I love to make you laugh, but I didn't think my lifestyle tip was funny. So fill me in here, baby.
If you're listening to an average person, you're just going to get average advice. Is basically what you're saying.
Yeah.
So stop listening to average people for average advice, AJ. That's exactly what Anderson is saying. Because if you're
you hear people say this, hey, don't take advice from someone unless they're where you want to be. But sometimes that doesn't resonate. So you got to come from the flip side of it. You got to tell the story from a different angle. And sometimes you break it down. Hey, if you don't want to be average, just change a few things in how you live your day and you will separate yourself from average. And it's remove one dumb thing and add one thing in and do that every fucking day. And literally in a couple of fucking weeks, you're going to go, holy shit, I graduated from the average club.
Yeah, you graduated from the average club. And hey, listen, AJ Zeglin's joining us here right now. And listen, guys, every man waking up right now, John and AJ, they have two mornings. There's two of them. It's snooze button and no snooze button. But the other guy is the one guy that has his mind that he wants to write. And the other guy is going to write nothing but excuses. And Dugan, I'm looking at you, man, because I know you're the guy who's writing the story you want to write. You're not letting somebody else write your story anymore. You're like, fuck that. I'm writing my own story. In the next 12 minutes, we're going to hang out with Zeglin, AJ Zeglin, our mind field expert. And we're going to talk about why your brain fights your strongest hours and how to shut down that resistance for good. And AJ, when elite performers, the guys you've worked with in the gym, in the clinic, who are coming to you and talking about rewiring.
Oh, sorry, I lost you there, Keith.
I was going to say, I think it's him. I still got you, brother. So he'll be back here. He'll be back here pretty quick. But I think you got the gist of what we were talking about. What do you think, brother? Sure. Give us some goodies because me personally, I'm always excited to hear you listen to you talk.
I was going to add one quick thing too to you, building off your lifestyle tip that I wanted to say,
brother.
I really love the tip. And I have a saying that is, or it's not my saying, a saying that I've adopted, that I've learned over the years. And it's that action offends the inactive. And
Yes.
what I've noticed is it's true. If you decide to take that step, you decide to commit to that action, you're going to know right away, right? Like you talked about these average people not wanting to get better, not wanting to improve. They're going to show themselves right away because they're the ones that are going to be offended by the action that you've taken. If you decided that you're going to start going to the gym every day, or you're going to quit smoking or quit drinking, or they're going to be the first people to get on you about it, right? And be like, oh, that's stupid, or I heard it's not good to go to the gym every day anyway. And they're going to have all these reasons and excuses why they don't do it and why you shouldn't be doing it. And it's in reality, it's just because it's easier for them to do that than accept that responsibility on themselves, right?
100%.
And so you've somehow, it's a simple saying, but I love it. And if you're trying to spot the people that are trying to hold you back or keep you average or giving you average advice, like you said, you'll know right away, because that action that you take is going to somehow offend them and they're going to have some sort of negative take on it.
Well, yeah, and 100%. And I love that. And that kind of almost goes back to a conversation we had about shit. God, I'm trying to have a brain fart, but we set basically boundaries for ourselves, right? When we set a new boundary for ourselves and people are not accustomed to seeing us carry through with it, then they're just waiting for us to go back to do the dumb shit we were once doing. And so when it comes down to it, we're talking about taking that step to get out of the average club, which then, of course, what everything you're talking about a second ago, you have to realize that you're going to get resistance from the people around you because they don't, number one, they're used to you going back to your dumb shit real quick. So they're like, okay, don't bother me with this. I want you to have these French fries with me right now. That's what I'm used to. So you got to remember that if you're going to do this, you got to stick to your guns long enough that people are actually going to recognize you set a new boundary and you're going to stick to it. Because without that, those people that are, if you continue to try and fail, I shouldn't, nothing anything wrong with failure as long as you continue to try. But you got to remember, every time, quit is a better word. Every time you set a standard for yourself and you don't uphold it, you're going to get those people that are going to step up. So you got to remember, when you're taking this step not to be average, you've got to stick to it long enough that the people around you actually can see that you're going to stick to your guns.
So you're committed to it.
Yeah. And then at that point, you'll start to realize, okay, there's some people that are, I'm going to have to probably create a little more distance with. And there will be other people that you're going to pull a little closer because they're in the same boat as you are. I have a saying too. And I love the fact you said it's not our sayings. We've just adapted them because it's very difficult to come up with a new one with all of the great people before us. But I always say you got to surround yourself with people that want something for you rather than people that want something from you. And that kind of goes into what we're talking about there. Talk about that a little bit, brother.
I love that. Yeah, no, absolutely. It can be tough to find the right people to surround yourself with, and also to be the right person. And that's usually where it starts from, right? If we want to surround ourselves with really good people, guess what? The first step is be those things yourself, right? So be those things. So you want to surround yourself with people that are positive. You want to surround yourself with people that are committed to their goals. You want to surround yourself with people, maybe let's say, that are physically active, or that educate themselves on a lot of different topics. So they're very well read. If you want to surround yourself with those types of people, become that person yourself, right? Get going, get to the gym, be positive, be supportive of all the people around you, whatever they're trying to accomplish, support it, and stay committed to your goals. Like you said, those little steps and just that consistency over time is obviously the biggest factor in that. And do all these things and be the person you want to be. And all of a sudden you're going to notice those are the people that you're going to start to attract, right? Those are the people that you're going to start to cross paths with, right? Because now you're putting yourself out there and you're creating this version of yourself. You're letting yourself to step into that. And these are the people that are now you're going to cross paths with. You're going to attract them. They're going to be in your circle. And then all of a sudden you're going to have what you were seeking, right? You wanted to be in a positive environment. You want to be surrounded by people that support you. Go out and do it first and be that person. And then you're going to notice that those people then will become attracted to you, and you'll have that environment to keep growing in.
So you work with a lot of high level athletes, and obviously it's the mental side is what you're focused on. You deal with a lot of athletes that come to you that haven't recognized that they're still carrying around a bunch of people that are still trying to pull stuff from them rather than support them and have them. What is that a big part of what you deal with?
Yeah, you're dealing with people with all sorts of expectations, right? From parents to friends, from themselves to media, to fans, to teammates, to other players, other competitors in the league, to coaching, to management. There's a million different kind of people that are all involved on a kind of very big scale, right? That all have their little say in it, right? And so it can be challenging, right? To be able to block the noise out and just focus on what's important and the opinions of people that are actually there to help make you better and help grow and genuinely support you and genuinely care about your development. It can be a tough thing to navigate for sure.
So what do you say to the guy that's it's my girlfriend, it's my wife, it's my brother, it's my mother, my father? What do you, because those are obviously tight in someone's life, they're important. What do you say to the guy that says, hey, this stuff is coming from the most inner part of my circle? What do I do? What do you tell that guy?
Yeah, we start with looking at the stuff that we can control, right? So we would look and be like, hey, what do I have control over in this situation? I have control over how I communicate. So is my issue with my partner, with my girlfriend or wife or whoever it is it because I'm not communicating well? Am I making assumptions? Am I not being clear? There's stuff for us there to look at first, right? And if we look at all those relationships where maybe some of that friction or negativity is coming from, and we're like, hey, I'm doing everything that I can, I've reflected back and I'm taking care of all the stuff that I can control. I'm communicating clearly. I'm being honest. I'm removing assumptions from the equation. I'm always bringing my best effort. So it's not like I'm just getting home and I don't have time to converse with mom and dad or brother, sister, or boyfriend, girlfriend, or whoever it is, right? It's I'm prioritizing and letting them know that they're important to me. That would be step one, right? And then see how that works, right? Because sometimes it's because we're not bringing our best selves to the relationship,
Ooh,
whether that's
good.
with friend or family or whatever, right? So once we've established what we can control and we've determined that we're bringing our best, then we see where it is, right? And oftentimes people within a relationship will rise up and meet you, right? If you're bringing your best, now they're going to start bringing their best. So they're going to be like, oh, hey, every time I talk to AJ, I notice like he puts his phone down and he's really listening to what I say. He's interested, right? That person is probably going to pick up on that and be like, when I talk to him, I'm going to put my phone down too. Or every time I speak to him, I feel like he's really honest with me or he's actively listening. He's genuinely interested in what I'm saying. And I can tell by the questions he asks. People usually want to return that favor, right? And you can see the quality of your relationships just increase from there, right? And if you do everything that's within your scope of control and it still doesn't improve and get better, well, now it's maybe time to reevaluate where those people sit in your life and how much credibility that you give to their input and their feedback.
That's so good, brother, because when it comes down to it, in a lot of these situations I went through it was I started to make the decisions and create my daily life in a certain way that was going to give me the outcome of success I was looking for. A lot of the initial resistance from the people close by is they think you're leaving. They think that you're leaving them. So when you actually engage and you become better with them, gives them a chance to actually adjust accordingly rather than they react certain ways. They think they're getting left. You basically have another reaction to their reaction. It just turns into this negative thing and never even has a chance to smooth itself out. So that's massively good success. That's such a massively good tip, bro. That's really good.
Yeah.
I know we gotta keep moving the segment on. And John and AJ, thanks for hanging out. My internet was being reset and I was listening to you guys' conversation. AJ, if we're building a relationship together and I'm coming into the situation and I'm always staring at my phone and you're the guy putting it down all the time, eventually you're probably going to start stepping away from me in the relationship, right? Because you're like, this guy just clearly isn't as invested in Keith and AJ as AJ is in Keith and AJ. That's just what happens, isn't it, AJ? We just drift apart.
Yeah. Typically, if we feel that it's not being matched or not being reciprocated in any type of meaningful way, then usually over time it might start to deteriorate, right? And you might just be like, hey, I don't know if this person is invested in this as I am, or I don't know if they're actively wanting this to be a thing, right? And if that's fine, then if that happens, that's fine. Not sometimes stuff just organically takes shape or falls apart over time, right? And not every relationship that we have is going to be in our life forever. And that doesn't mean that it's necessarily a bad thing, right? Sometimes we have relationships that are really short, but they're really meaningful. And sometimes we have long ones that last a long time that are just very casual, that it's really hard to judge on a time length. But yeah, typically if it's not being returned, then it's just going to deteriorate and fall apart over time. And there's going to be some distance created there.
That's it. AJ, thanks for hanging out this morning. I apologize that I wasn't able to be part of the full conversation.
Okay.
That's awesome. You guys had a chance to hang out here this morning. Nation, you guys can find AJ Zeglin on LinkedIn. You can find him at Focus Fitness. You can find him at Invictus Performance, Mental Performance. AJ is our resident mind fuel mental performance expert. You're looking to help yourself move forward in life and you're finding yourself mentally stuck. AJ is the guy that you can talk to help you move forward. AJ, what do you got planned for today, brother, before we say goodbye?
I got some hockey academies in this morning,
Nice.
so I'll be working with the young athletes, which I'm excited about. I got some clients later this afternoon, and then I'll be watching my boy play hockey after school.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Before we quickly say goodbye, Adam was up this earlier, and we're talking about getting out of the valley and moving to victory, this idea of journaling. You're a big proponent of journaling too, aren't you, AJ? Just open up a white piece of paper and just start dumping your thoughts out, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. Journaling and or talking, because one might be easier for people than the other. So some people might like to write stuff down, but if you have someone that you feel comfortable talking to as well, it can have a similar type of effect, right? You have a confidant or someone close to you that you have no problem opening up to and dumping it all out with them, then that can be really helpful too. Or we could write it down on paper as well, right? Either one, we got to get it. We got to move it into that part of the brain where we're now like, hey, all this information, all this, these emotions, these feelings, these thoughts that I have, I'm now moving them into part of my brain where I can do something with it, right?
Yes.
It's now a solvable problem. It's a challenge I could work through. And that's usually the first step, is taking that action, whether that's pen to paper or whether that's verbally having that conversation with someone that you trust.
Awesome. All right, AJ.
Good stuff. Good. Real quick before we go, Keith.
Yeah.
Anytime you have internet trouble, do it during AJ's segment, because I'm totally good just having one-on-one with him.
All right, clearly there's a new segment because Jimmy, clearly there's a new segment happening here. Billis is leaving the lab. Zeglin and Johnny are going to talk whatever they're talking about, mental performance, deep cheeks.
It's just fun conversation, fun and helpful conversation.
That's right.
If you weren't back in another 5 minutes, you would have come back and we would have been measuring cheek depth.
Yeah. That's never ended. All right, AJ, have a good one, brother. Always good to have you here. Tuesdays and Thursdays, AJ Zeglin for Mind Fuel on Mornings in the Lab with Keith and Freds. Have a good one, pal.
Thanks, guys. You, brother. I appreciate it as always.
As always. All right, you guys know that sound effect. It's the morning Highland dance. It's the bagpipes coming all the way from the Philippines with Jimmy. You got Keith Billis over here. You got Johnny Anderson over there. You got Marty over there. You got Flynn over there. And we're just hanging out with you guys this morning. We just crushed the first hour talking about how to achieve big goals in life and how to write your story without having somebody write that story for you. John and I talked a little bit in that first hour about how to turn a no into a yes. We're going to keep that conversation going.
Quick, brother, can I sneak in there one quick thing? The whole story thing. I think one of the things that people can do that's really helpful is we all have our story. And sometimes we don't know that we have our story. So do a little inventory. What is it that you tell yourself? Because you tell yourself your story. Is your story that you're actually, these things have happened and thank goodness, and because of them you're succeeding, or is these things happened why you're not succeeding? And success is your definition, but your story is everything, because what you tell yourself is going to be either really limiting or it's going to be completely liberating.
I love this conversation. The music's jacking me up. The whole idea of it's jacking me up because people are starting today. Guys are starting the day right now. And Johnny, we do it. You do it. I do. We tell ourselves a story. And often we tell a story that's not true, right? Yeah. And I'm going to lean into our friend Jack Dugan, who told the story to himself for so long. He discovered our show, and then he got up and started hanging out every single day. And what is the story, Johnny? 40 pounds lighter. right?
Yep.
So the brain's a powerful thing, guys, and it can tell you what you think it's telling you, or you can grab that pen and start recreating that story yourself. Listen, we kicked off the first hour. We talked about how to turn a no into a yes. And we're going to keep that conversation going. And then what I want to do, John, is I want to talk about 7 signs a man has healthy masculinity. And maybe if we have time, we'll get into normal changes men over 50 experience. Because since you and I are the old guys, normal changes men over 50 should expect when they get an erection.
That's the first thing we're talking about right there. Normal things that. So I just want to make sure, because you said we're talking about 2 different topics.
Yeah,
what's the topic? Men over 50 is where we're going here.
So no, here's what we're gonna do, nation. We're gonna get to the topic. We're gonna get Jimmy. We're gonna get to normal changes men over 50 should expect when they get an erection. So if you're tuning in right now, in a couple minutes, we're gonna get to that topic. What Keith and Johnny are gonna do is we're gonna finish the conversation from the first hour. And that first hour was how to turn a no into a yes. So that if you have the erection working, you can get the yes from your partner.
I guess they go hand in hand a little bit, don't they?
They do go hand in hand. So how to no into a yes? We talked about this idea of active listening. We talked about acknowledging somebody's concerns. We talked about clarifying misunderstandings. Johnny, how about talk about highlighting the benefits that matter? Always tailoring your pitch to the person you're talking to and their pain points. Perhaps it's if your boss, showing them how your recommendations directly solving promotions. If it's somebody within the relationship, maybe you're talking to your partner about benefits of the decision you're trying to make. The point, though, is that when somebody's saying no, Johnny, what you might want to do as half of the communicator is shining some of the light on the benefits of the situation.
Yeah. And the benefits to them, because we tend to have our conversation or our pitch or whatever it is. In many cases, it's the underlying message is how it's beneficial, but who's it beneficial to? So when you think about, in many cases, if you're trying to talk to someone and trying to get them to see what you start off with how it's going to benefit them, because you already know how it's going to benefit you.
Yes.
And bring them a little closer with letting them see that, hey, this works both ways.
And I think the caution of Johnny is I don't think your role in that situation, though, is to sell and convince. Right. Mm-hmm. It's about suggesting the highlights, but I don't think it's not selling. Like you're not getting in front of Terry and selling the hell out of her. You're presenting the benefits, you're highlighting the benefits, you're half of her partner, you're half of Terry and John, and then you guys can collaborate in making the decision. But if you just stand there and sell, your partner, your boss is going to look at you like, who the fuck, man? Just shut up.
And the thing about it is people want to make a choice. They don't want to be sold. And you put everything in front of them so that they're making a choice that's going to be moving in the direction that you want them to move in. Now, keep in mind, it should be something that's both of you want.
Yes.
So then you're basically, the joke I always make with Terry, this is a straight joke. I say, look, hurry up and agree with me so I can give you what you want. But realistically, when it comes down to it, is you explain things nice and clear. You explain things from both perspectives. Start off with the other person's perspective, and then they'll make a choice. People want to choose. They don't want to be sold.
Yes. Hey, you're hanging out with John and Keith and Mornings in the Lab with Keith and friends here. If you're tuning into the show for the first time, we are a morning show to help you achieve your big goals. A couple of guys like myself who achieved a couple goals in life. We help men not hit the snooze button. We help men get moving and hit big, audacious goals. We're talking about how to turn a no into a yes when faced with obstacles. Johnny, offer alternatives. When you're standing in front of Terry, you're standing in front of your colleagues, you're thinking, okay, if this isn't the choice, and then we talked with Adam about being in the valley, think about alternatives you can throw on the table, but be strategic. Don't flood that person with just, okay, this and this and this and this. Slow it down. Thoughtfully recommend an option that works best for you, and then present it to them. Johnny.
On that level, if someone says to me, no, I don't like to hear the word no, that's for sure. Down deep, it pisses me off down deep, I'll be honest. Terry will say point blank, he doesn't like to hear no. Usually when I hear no, okay, I need some more information. So I usually will start to ask questions at that point, because when I'm asking questions, I'm wanting to understand more about what's going on with the other person. It gives me a better perspective on how to deal with the situation and how to make it work for both of us.
I want to go here with you because you said something which actually triggers me too. And I think it triggers for a lot of people. When we hear the word no, you're like, I don't really like that fucking word.
Yeah.
Yet Yet you accept it, but you often will do something about it. Have you during your time on life used that word in a manipulative way? We're like, fuck, I got to find a way to manipulate myself out of this. No.
I think when it comes down to it, I think anybody that says that they haven't is lying.
I think so too. Yes.
And I think when it comes down to is if it's really has to do with your position with the person across from you. If you are trying to truly work something out for an equal benefit, then obviously it's a little different than if you're trying to get them to say yes. That's really just because it's what you want and you're not worried about what they think, or then at that point it becomes a little more damaging. Now, if you use a slight manipulation tactic to get them to see something that you think that they're not seeing, and then they're like, oh, okay, that's different, because you're just playing with the situation, playing with words, playing with perspectives to get them to see something that you think they might be missing. But if you think they get it and you're just trying to tweak their mind, now you've crossed the line.
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning, Super Bowl Roy. I see you there in the comments. I invite you to like the channel, subscribe to the channel, hang out with us every single day, 8 o'clock Eastern time. Keith and John, Marty and Flynn, Anderson and Billis are always here every single day, 8 o'clock Eastern time, helping you guys achieve those big ass goals. Good morning, Shang Hunt. I see you. Y'all know what I'm interested. Sub to end in. Yes, I encourage you to subscribe to the channel. And Johnny, the last thing on the list here, which is how to turn a no into a yes. And here's a big one, man, and I'm curious to know how you have handled this one. But knowing, every pun intended, knowing when to walk away. Sometimes a rejection, sometimes a no is truly final. And learning how to respect that decision doesn't mean you failed it. It just means that you're opening the door perhaps for future opportunities. Walking away with grace, this demonstrates professionalism. And you might even gain something from it. So I got to think, John, and you high level career, wrestling, bodybuilding, strength. There has to have been times you must have walked towards a door and you've turned around and walked away, accepting that the rejection is final. How did you do that, brother?
I think when it comes down to it, let's categorize it a little differently. Call it a loss, call it a failure. So you get to learn now. It's okay. Yeah. What I was bringing to the table wasn't really a solution that worked for everyone. So now you got to realize, okay, how do I alter what I'm doing? So when I come back, I'm presenting something differently, something differently, so that it'll work for both parties. Because when it comes down to it, that's the thing. It's if both people aren't happy or content, it's just temporary anyway.
It's true.
I always make the joke, like,
funny how you put that.
It's people talk about contract this, contract that, and that's great. It's really helpful to know what everybody's supposed to do. But when it comes down to it, if a person is happy with the situation, then that contract really just needs to be a very simple explanation of who has what role. Because if everybody's happy, nobody's leaving.
Yeah. In my experience, and I read a good piece from a lawyer here, Johnny, who negotiates professional contracts with athletes. And his perspective is that if both parties walk away from the table just a little bit unhappy, ultimately the deal is happy. Because
they have to share whatever it is, has to be shared for sure.
Yeah. So if you walk away, if you walk away at 98 and I walk away at 98, we both didn't get 100, but the deal got 100. In reality, we both won.
Yeah.
That's hard for many people and many organizations to get towards, Johnny.
And when it comes to, I love the quantification, because that could be 98, it could be 70. Because if you look across from the person you're working with, look, okay, we both didn't quite get what we're looking for, but it's equal and we can live with that and we can move forward with that. If somehow one person is totally fulfilled and the other person is not, it's just a matter of time before the situation ends.
And what I loved about it, John, because it was a sports analogy, when these athletes sign these big contracts for 50 million, 100 million, a gazillion dollars. And the way it was presented to me was, and using you and I as a situation, let's pretend that, okay, we're doing a deal together. We both take a 98 to make the deal 100. Could you imagine if we're doing the deal together, you're using that same philosophy where I'm like, you're getting 110 and I'm getting 95 out of the equation, and then you don't perform as the athlete in this situation?
Yeah.
What's quickly happening, right? I'm quickly feeling like I got the bum end of the deal, right? So if we both come to the table with 98, all of a sudden, both of our expectations are pretty even.
Yeah.
Because if all of a sudden I go and go, fuck, John got the better end of the deal, he better fucking show up all the time. And then all of a sudden you're not, I'm going, wait a minute.
Yeah. Yeah. Expectations can really screw shit up.
That's what I mean. Expectations are kill.
It's if the expectations of the agreement are not
Yes.
understood.
Yes.
And they're not really well defined. And especially if one person walks away feeling like they got bent over, then they're thinking to themselves, well, that son of a bitch better be at the highest level.
Yes.
And it doesn't take but one mistake or one whatever it is for that person to feel like they're getting taken advantage of. And now the way I look at it like this is that if I want a situation to last, number one, I want to set it up where I feel like there's equality within the situation. I'll keep checking in on it because those things, they change. And if you want a long-term relationship, a long-term deal, sometimes they have to be adjusted along the way. And I'm the guy in many cases say, hey, you know what? I feel like if I basically give a little bit more, I'm going to be, number one, I feel better about that. Like when I'm hired to do something, I'm always going to do a little more because that makes me feel like I'm going beyond what I was hired to do. And that's for A, it makes me feel good. B, it shows the other side that, hey, it's not just about, exactly what's put into this situation, into this agreement. He's going to do a little more. And I think that's a big part of it too. When you feel like the person across from you is ready to do more.
Yes.
That's how you establish that long-term relationship. You're not being paid to do it. You're just doing it. Like that athlete that he's doing what he's supposed to do within the contract, but he's doing a little more. That organization is going to be happy.
That's right. It's so true. It's so true. So I guess really what we're saying here, Nation, is don't always try to get to a deal to win it. Right. Sometimes winning it is actually losing it in the big picture. So that would be the advice we'd offer you here as we wrap up the conversation about how to turning a no into a yes. All right. We're 20 minutes after the second hour here with Keith and John here. Mornings in Live with Keith and Friends. What I'm going to do, Jimmy and John, is we're going to do the creator spotlight. We're going to shine a light on somebody here on the platform. And then we're going to come back and we're going to wrap the show up with a topic that men that are hanging out here this morning that are over 50, normal changes. Men should expect over 50 when they have an erection, because men, life is not over after 50, man. Life, you're just starting. You're just starting and you want to rock and roll here because you get to 60, 70, 80, maybe life starts to end. But hey, when you're 50, you're just getting started here. So we're going to talk about the normal changes. Man, I'm 52, Anderson's 52. So we may have some experience with that. But Jimmy, we're going to pivot the attention. I'm going to move my attention to this camera over here. And Johnny, we're going to take somebody off the LinkedIn platform. And typically myself and Christina do this, but right now we're going to celebrate somebody. He's a CEO of a company on the platform, a brand and demand agency that's rewriting the rules of B2B growth. But here's what makes this fellow different. Now, most marketers are stuck in these sterile, septic offices. This guy's turning forests into film studios. While others hide behind the data, this dude is bringing Irish charm. Yeah, Jimmy, Irish charm to B2B storytelling. And now while the industry plays it safe, this guy's making awesome videos in the woods. Yeah, that's what I said. I said awesome videos in the woods that drive not mediocre. No, they drive serious results. Today's creator spotlight from Mornings in the Lab, hanging out with Keith and John here, is Jimmy. Drum roll, please. Today's Mornings in the Lab creator spotlight is, boom, Liam Moroney. Liam. Yes. Today, why are we celebrating Liam today in the lab here this morning? So we're celebrating Liam today. He's got business athlete energy, man. Like this man, Johnny, has spent over a decade leading marketing for tech startups. Now he's building storybook marketing for tech startups. And he's building story marketing into a powerhouse, all while turning nature into his content studio. He's got evidence-based innovation. He's not just telling stories. This guy, Liam Moroney, is engineering growth engines for his customers, combining creative fire with strategic precision, turning brand marketing into a revenue machine through the forest to fortune philosophy. Liam Moroney here, Mornings in the Lab with Keith and Friends. And Liam, as you can see, he's all the way from Patterson, New York, United States, and he's be the brand they think of. And if you're looking to hang out with somebody here on the platform, I invite you to check out Liam Moroney, who we are celebrating today, the CEO of Storybook Marketing, the MarTech contributor to Mornings in the Lab with Keith and friends. Liam, listen, my friend, we'd love to celebrate you here in the lab. If you know somebody in your orbit, you're like, yeah, I want to celebrate somebody, come bring him to the lab. We'll shine the light on them, and we'll take some energy and move it in the direction of somebody you want to celebrate here. Mornings in the lab on today's Creator Spotlight. All right, Jimmy. So we're going to keep the show rolling on here. Once I find my, there we go. We're going to get that over there. And we're going to do this. Okay, so listen, we're going to continue moving the conversation to the next topic on the table today, which is normal changes, Johnny, normal changes that men should expect when they have an erection after 50. And I got to tell you, guys, if you're turning in right now and you're thinking, oh my God, men, we don't typically experience the drastic hormonal changes of menopause. Nope, not us. Nope. But the level of testosterone that as we have gradually declines around the age of 40. And guys might not notice these lower levels of testosterone because they don't have the symptoms. However, Johnny, low levels of testosterone might show up as lower sexual desire, lower bone mineral density, and hot flashes. One of the most common changes for men as we age is the time it takes to achieve an erection. And it may take longer for sexual arousal to turn into a full erection. And men, you know this, but I'm going to tell you this right now, looking into the camera. This is normal. Yeah, it's normal. Unfortunately, men, as we get older, it's going to be normal where these changes in erection caused by decrease in blood flow, but it doesn't necessarily mean you have erectile dysfunction. So before you reach for the Viagra, the Cialis, and so forth, talk to your partner, go talk to your doctor. But Johnny, as we age, man, erections change.
Here's the thing. I think the first thing that we got to address in this topic is the fact that in many cases, as people are getting older, they tend to not be caring for themselves the same way. So they're not sleeping well, they're not exercising, they're not eating in a way that's supporting. Because ultimately, think like this: you're living your life that's creating a ripple effect of your health. Question you got to ask is it a positive ripple effect or a negative one? A negative ripple effect on your health in your 50s is going to lead you to not having a good piece of wood most every time. And it can even go libido, where you just don't want to have sex.
Yeah.
So, and I can't tell you how many people that I work with, my clients, that they just know that they're not quite up to par with libido and erectile dysfunction. And a lot of times it's driven by low testosterone. A lot of times it's driven by a whole lot of things. But the bottom line, the first thing you want to do is start paying attention to your sleep, start paying attention to your diet, just take care of yourself. And you may be really surprised just in a week or two that some of the stuff will bounce back for you. So I think one of the things that we have to understand, or at least address, is that if you're not living your life in a way that supports this, you pretty much guarantee this problem is going to happen, whether you got low testosterone or not.
Yeah. And listen, guys, if you're crushing fatty foods, you're crushing booze left and right, you're crushing all those accumulative choices that you started when you're 18 or 20, and you're trying to continue that in your 40s and your 50s, there's no question your sex life is going to change. Your erection is going to change. The ability for you to drive your libido is going to change. So as Johnny said, man, you got to look in your own mirror first.
And literally traveling, like when I'm traveling, I do the best I can, but I don't have all my resources. And if I'm traveling, I was just traveling not too long ago, and I noticed a difference in my libido just because I was not sleeping as well in the hotel. The foods I was eating were not quite as dialed in as normal. So I can feel it I'm 52, and I can feel it anytime that I'm not really dialed in with taking care of myself.
Yes, yes. So, nation, remember that erectile dysfunction might be a symptom of a chronic condition such as heart disease, might be because of diabetes, might be because of sleep disorder, might be because of Parkinson's disease. So there's a number of things you want to look at and talk to your daughter as you're aging, going, geez, I'm having a hard time with an erection. And
you meant say talk to your doctor, just so everybody knows. When you say talk to your daughter, he meant doctor.
Oh, I said yes. Yes, thank you, Johnny. And while women can no longer become pregnant after menopause, men can still father children despite their age. However, sperm production begins to get lower, meaning it might be more difficult for them to father children because there's less sperm. Gentlemen, your testicles might also shrink due to the decline in sperm production. Your penis is going to probably change with age. The shaft may develop scar tissue to sexual activity, causing the penis to bend during an erection. This curable decision is known as Peyronie's disease. And then, of course, as we also age, gentlemen,
I had no clue there was actually a name for that.
yeah. And that's when over time that scar tissue develops around the penis and it starts to bend, right? So it is a curable disease. And then, Johnny, as we know, especially for us men, especially the month of November, Men's Cancer Awareness Month, the prostate gland, man. The prostate gland, which plays a major role in producing semen, becomes larger around the age of 40. Right. So it's going to continue to grow as you age. So if the prostate becomes large enough, it might press against the urethra, causing benign prostatic hyperplasia, also known as an enlarged prostate, making it more difficult or painful to pee. So, gentlemen, if you're having a hard time peeing or it's hurting to pee, stop listening to John and Keith right fucking now and go to the doctor. Right, Johnny?
Yeah, for sure. What the stuff that we're talking about is just, hey, because we're promoting you taking care of yourself on any level. And if you're not taking care of yourself, it's playing into this issue. Not to say that you may have more issues than not taking care of yourself, but that's always going to be the foundation of it, is taking care of yourself. So yeah, 100%. And you can get yourself looked at, go to your doctor, have them do a blood panel. It's going to uncover a whole lot of information that can be really helpful for you restoring your sex life.
It's true, nation. And I'll just wrap it up with this, guys. Listen, we're all getting older, man. And the common change, it's going to take longer to maybe get an erection. Don't beat yourself up. Don't look in the mirror and think you're going backwards in life. Slow down, pause, take a deep breath.
Focus,
doctor, focus.
Literally, when you think about what you're going to do, if you're thinking about having sex with your wife or your girlfriend and you're not scrolling on your phone, you're going to have a much better chance of getting an erection faster. Get distractions out of the way. We have to focus on everything we do to do well or to be successful. Focus on the task at hand, which is what you're going to do. If you're getting ready to have sex, focus on that.
And Johnny, is that we're talking about men over your 50s. Gentlemen, you've got a lot of experience in life, man. So I'm inviting you to create and have that focus that you've taught yourself over time. You're not just an 18-year-old, 20-year-old punk. We're talking to you, 50-year-old man. And we're just saying, hey, man, slap your wrist, put your phone down, lean into your partner and have some focus. And next thing you're going to have some fun.
Yeah, that's right. Because that ends up having some fun, baby. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. But I will tell you guys, shit's going to change. You might be a little softer. You might need a little more time. You might a little more, but I think it all starts looking in your own mirror and eating some good food, getting some good sleep, and it's going to turn into some good results in the bedroom.
Yes.
So, Johnny, man, we are 90 minutes in. We're going to wrap the show up. I know you got another big day ahead of you. I got to ask, is Ben still there supervising and making sure you're being held accountable to your content creation?
No, he left yesterday, and now every time I open a door, he's standing there with a camera in my face. So it's actually I love Ben, but I'm definitely glad to not be having that. It was just nonstop 4 days.
Oh, it's awesome. People holding you accountable. All right, well, listen, we're gonna get out of here, Jimmy. We're gonna wrap the show up earlier today. We're gonna do 90 minutes on the platform too. It's a lot of great conversation. We talked about how to turn no's into yeses. We talked with Adam House about being in the valley and turning the valley into victory. I stepped out for a little bit. John and AJ talked mind fuel. And Keith and John are going to get after their day today. We got guests for the rest of the week showing up in the show here. We're going to get back after tomorrow. Richie's here tomorrow. Flynn's here tomorrow. I'm here tomorrow. Anderson's here tomorrow. Nation, have a good day. Or to find Keith or to find John, 8 o'clock Eastern time, Monday to Friday, right here. Mornings live with Keith and friends. And you got producer Jimmy putting the buttons as well. Johnny, have a good one, brother. I love you, man.
Right on, brother. See you guys. Love you too, brother. See all you guys tomorrow.
See you guys later. Thanks, Dugan. Thanks, Shinku. Thanks, you guys. We'll see you later. Jimmy, let's get out of here.